too long.
Here we are, man. 2022, the first sober story of the year. None other than my brother Sam. How are you, bro?
I am great, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing excellent, man. Doing excellent. Happy to be here with you.
It's a blessing.
No doubt. This is like what our second time trying to knock this out.
I know, yeah. So, back for more. So, glutton for punishment.
Well, yeah, man. Let's make sure we get it right this time. How about that?
Absolutely, man.
Word. Well, man. Thank you for coming out. And being willing to open up about your story and the process. Once this wraps up, I know without a doubt it's gonna help a multitude of people because that's what it's about. Reach one, teach one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's an honor and recovery to be asked to do anything. But I think it's really more even so a debt because I truly owe my life to it in my recovery. So I wouldn't be here today without it. So, it's a debt that I have to pay because I don't own my sobriety. I rent it and rent's
Word.
due daily for like a drunk like me.
That's right.
And I pay that, by saying yes, showing up for life, and seeing how I can just help others. I think the key to sobriety is, it's really, I've heard this said before, it's, trust God, clean house, and help others.
No doubt, man. Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, bro?
Yeah, man. So my name is Sam Mertz. I am an alcoholic, and but thanks to recovery, I'm a lot more things today, and I'm really grateful for that.
Hmm. Nice to hear, man. Love to hear. How many years do you have under your belt?
Uh, 2.5 years.
Two
So
and a
about
half
2.5 years. Yeah. So that was pretty incredible. We'll get into some of the story, but just to be here.
No doubt. No doubt, man. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Well, let's break it down, bro. How was life for you growing up?
Yeah, man. Life growing up, I don't know if if I'm born an addict or an alcoholic or if I become one later in life. It doesn't really matter how the genesis of it because I'm one today. But I honestly feel like I was born one. It doesn't just the hereditary. It doesn't addiction doesn't just run in my family. It gallops, and so I would say growing up, I had a lot of these characteristics and a lot of these traits that are pretty common for other people in active addiction or the way that I thought. Even without having alcohol, I felt like an alcoholic growing up. I felt distant from the world. I felt like I was an alien. I felt like I was, just these feelings of inadequacy. I wanted to be alone. I was scared of everything, just constant fear. Like I would grow up and on the school bus. Every day I'd be on the same school bus and I'd be terrified I'd never go home. Like they would just keep driving or take me somewhere else. And I mean, I still vividly just have that fear and just so desperately not wanting to be myself. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, out in Short Pump. And, I grew up out in Wyndham before Short Pump was Short Pump, right? It was a Walmart and Wendy's. And, Wyndham was a gravel road at that time, back in the early 90s. And but it was dope because there's like all this construction and all this stuff and not a lot of people around yet. It's a new neighborhood, so I had a lot of free time and a lot of just areas to explore and really got lost in this fantasy. I just lived in such a fantasy world. I was just this king and I could make the rules and people had to like me in this fantasy. And selfish, self-conscious. I was a fat kid, man. God, I was fat. Um, because I don't think I'm a moralholic. I want everything I have, everything you have, and then when are we going to get more? And that's everything. It was women. It was Oreos. I couldn't just have an Oreo. I would eat, the entire bag. And so that led to me being a really fat, chubby kid and unhealthy and addicted to sugar, and which is what alcohol is made out of. Shocking. And later down the road, right? And but these feelings of if I could just change a little bit of something. It was just this constant voice growing up. If I could just be a little bit different, if I was skinnier, if I was funnier, if I got better grades, if I was taller, whatever, if I just changed one little bit that was barely out of reach for me, life would be better. And so, and that was really what, really growing up, what just made for just kind of a mess of a person, just a really insecure, scared, and egotistical person. And and yeah, so that was probably early
Man,
childhood.
that's a lot, man. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy that they say hindsight is 2020. That you're able to realize like how addiction started way before addiction started, man. And I know like that's so true for myself and so many others. Is kind of the beauty of the struggle. We can go back and pinpoint like moments in time. Um,
Oh my God, yeah. Like I can just remember like, my first drink,
mhm.
when I'm 14 years old on my way to a Notre Dame football camp at my cousin's, like it was a Bud Light, tasted like shit, and like and I was like, people like this, and
Or
just that sensation, and that my first high,
yeah.
it's funny how these things I was working at a Dairy Queen in high school in the back, just, never in my life touched it. I was a big athlete,
Mhm.
growing up. I had a really Renaissance kind of high school experience, I
Mhm.
guess. I was the first graduating class from Deep Run, so we had no one above us, so it was egotistical. I mean, gosh, you don't answer to anyone, and but yeah, I mean, that was a really kind of Renaissance high school experience. Uh, I did a lot in high school, man. Like I was captain of the football team. I was wrestling. I was track,
Mhm.
and I really, but I did like drama. I was in the International Thespians. I did one acts and dinner theaters. I was in a musical my senior year. I was president of FCCLA. I did teacher intern. And so I could really learn, I think, in high school to kind of be a chameleon.
Mhm.
And not just, I still feel alone, like this kind of wolf pack mentality, and, uh, I would just go from these different groups to groups to groups,
Mhm.
and no one really got to know me, so I could go to a track party and drink with those kids, and the next day everyone else is they're hungover, they don't want to do it. I want to go do it again,
Word.
so I'm gonna go call the drama kids. I'm gonna go hit up the football team. Like, what are we doing? There's got to be something doing somewhere, and so nobody can really put the whole puzzle together, because it's not the same person watching me do this every night. The only person that I'm allowing to see the full story is myself,
Mhm.
you know.
So how was that? Like, did you think you fell into heavy drinking in high school, or was that like later down the line?
That's the crazy thing, man. Like, I really did. I didn't do. I smoked a little bit of pot, and I really barely drank in high school.
Mm.
I really like, because I'm obsessive, right? So I
Mhm.
get very obsessive about things. And so sports was my obsession, right? Like, so in middle school, I was tired of being fat. And, I'm
Mm.
going to try to find the easier, softer way. I can lose the weight, eat healthy, and do that. That's a lot of work. Or
Yeah.
I can join the football team because you're supposed to be big, right? And I was good at football. I got to play it through college. I was very blessed. It got me into college.
Mhm.
And, so I that obsession with that, and because I thought I'd go to the NFL because I wanted to go to like Notre Dame or play D1 football, like I just short,
Mhm.
and so like I that was my obsession though, and the same, but I looked at football like I did a bottle.
Mm.
It just took the shape of a bowl, and I've discovered in sobriety that I've had a lot of things in my life have taken the shape of bottles.
Well, let's go through a little bit of that, man. Like life taking that shape of the bottle. When did like addiction start? Like, and how did it look?
Yeah. So some of the first stuff I would do is drugs with my mom.
Mm.
We would do pain pills together. And I love my mom. God bless her.
Mhm.
But she was a drug addict, and was trying to figure it out towards the end. But she overdosed about a month before I graduated high school when I was
Mm.
18, so about 16 years ago. And so that was kind of the early exposure to it was, after football practice, my back hurts and I would take a pill and it would just shut that voice up. I felt good. I felt outgoing,
Mm.
and that was the biggest thing is just to feel like extroverted, because I'm such an introvert. So to have that kind of avenue or that chemical release was just incredible. Um, and so, I wasn't a frequent drinker, but when I did, I would black out.
Mm.
I just was not this and that. And, it's interesting, man. Like, I'm 34, and as a millennial, at this point, I was in the eighth grade when the 2000 election happened.
Mm.
And I was like, in the 9/11 and just seeing all these financial collapses, like all these once in a generation kind of experiences, you kind of feel like you're cursed. And so, I was 21. I was living down in where things started to really get off the rails. Was I was 21. I was living in North Carolina, and I was home. I was teaching, and I was home for spring or winter break, and I went to a party at UVA, in Charlottesville with a friend, and on the car ride up there, I had like 6 bottles of champagne.
Mm.
And we get to this party and and I'm talking to people are talking to me, women are talking to me, and I don't know what to do at this point. I'm still this 300-pound awkward ex-football player from college that just wants so badly for you to like me but doesn't know how to go about that. And now you're liking me and I don't know how to maintain that. So if drinking, my brain's telling me my alcohol logic, right? Well, if you took 1 beer and that one girl liked you, if you drink 2 beers, I bet 2 girls will like you.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean that's the moral holic in me, right? And so I end up, I'm drinking this. I'm just popping whatever pill I can. People are just throwing stuff in my mouth. It's heaven. I don't know where I'm at, and it was like 1 in the morning. I know I had to go to the bathroom. I was up in beer pong. I didn't want to wait in the line. So it's like 1 in the morning. I'm outside and I end up passing out.
Mm.
I don't know where I pass out. I just pass out, and it's 15-degree weather. I have no jacket on. I'm just in a button-down polo shirt and some jeans and cowboy pants or boots. Pants would have been cool, but so I ended up passing out just in the woods like that. And I woke up and I tried to run or something, or I don't know. And I ended up smacking my face and falling backwards. And that was the last thing I remembered. I came to, I think, around 4 or 5 in the morning and, just started stumbling out of this wooded area in Charlottesville, roaming the streets. I know I'm not in Richmond. I know I'm not home. I'm separated from my friend. I don't. But all of a sudden, like, I look over and my friend is driving. Like, I mean, he's just like in his own little state of mind. We don't take other people's inventory, but he's doing his thing. And he pulls up, and I mean, that's just, and I can look at it now and just say, wow, what a God moment, because he just pulls up and I am sitting there and he looks at me and he's like, yo, like, you want to ride? And I was like, that'd be cool. So we get back to the place we were staying, and I went to the, tried to sleep for a few hours. I ended up in the restroom and I sat on the toilet and I just hear this consistent, like, dripping. And I noticed,
See me clenching up.
Oh,
No.
yeah, it's this dripping, and you remember from the last time.
Yeah, man.
And it's this dripping, and I look down and I investigate, and I've got a handful of blood. And I'm concerned for a few reasons. It's not my time of the month, and I don't menstruate, so I don't know why that's there. And I remember waking my buddy up, and I'm like, "Hey, man, like, I'm bleeding." And I looked at my face too, and like I think I had like broken my nose. Like, I am just covered, like just black, just dry blood. And I'm like, I've never seen any. I looked like I was in a car accident. I had no idea what happened to me. And I woke my friend up and I was like, hey man, like, I'm bleeding. This would be the coolest thing ever if we could like go to like the hospital. And he was like, Sam, we'll go get breakfast later. Go back to sleep. And I was like, word. I'm gonna go to the hospital. So I walked like 2 or 3 miles to the UVA Medical Center, and it's nuts because like people are looking at me and crossing the street. Like, people are just like actively avoiding me at like 6 in the morning, and I don't get it. Like, I've never been in that much physical pain in my life. Mm-hmm. I'm limping. I'm cold. I have no jacket. My jacket was gone. And people are just like running the other way to get away from me. And I ended up at the hospital, and they admitted me without even taking my name. I remember me collapsing into like the little plexiglass and kind of taking my bloody little paw and just slapping it on the mirror and looking at the lady like, I need help. And they were like, yes, you do. And so we went through that, and I've had divine ignorance a lot in my life. And I really think that is when the universe has let me become very dumb. Well, very blind to my situation and how bad circumstances are. And that really just allowed me to take the next right step and do the next right thing, and and just make things manageable, because sometimes I have to really live my life just 1 minute at a time. And I have just an excruciating pain. My blood is so messed up. They won't give me any medicine, any painkillers. And I fell on a stick.
Mm.
And the stick went 8 inches up my ass. And it missed my small intestine by a millimeter and my rectum by like 1.5 millimeters. And I had a concussion. I had like alcohol poisoning. I had early like onset hypothermia. I had so much drugs in my system they couldn't actually give me pain medicine for this until like the next day. I had to have surgery, and they gave me the anesthesia, but nothing for it, because they just didn't know if I'd pull through with it. And yeah, it was a one in a, and I mean, it was scary, I have no recollection of how it really happens. I'm
Bro,
telling them.
that sounds insane and painful. So when you watch this and you hear my background noises, that's me.
Trigger warning, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, just,
I was trying to keep it mild.
Because I couldn't imagine it, man. But please continue. Please continue.
Bro, like it got really nuts because they were like, "Who did this to you?" And I was like, well, "I think I fell on a stick." And like, "How do you think you fell on a stick?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I truly have no recollection of any of this happening. Like pulling it out, just like whatever, like Jack Bauer, right?" And but yeah, like they were like, they did a rape test. They told me I was sexually assaulted.
Mm.
And I argued with them. I said, I don't. That's not what happened. And we went through, and they didn't find anything. So they determined that, and we did a surgery the first night in there. The next night, they said they were going to do this little procedure, and the next thing I know, I've got the hospital lawyer down there, social worker, helping me write a will. I don't know why I need that for a little minor surgery. They're waiting for my dad to get there to actually do the performance. And yeah, the chief of trauma surgery at UVA walks in, and my first thought is like, "Fuck, this is going to be expensive." And like that, like why? Like that's the first thought, right? And all of a sudden. He's like, "No, we're not. We already changed our minds. We're actually just going to cut you open." And so they gave me an epidural. They're like, "Do you know what that is?" I was like, "For pregnant people." And they're like, "You're getting one." So they did this little catheter, and then I'm numb from down there. And they cut me open. I think it was a 15-hour surgery, and they found tree bark floating on my small intestine. So that's how they knew it was a stick. Mm. So I was right.
That is a hell of a story, and I think this is going to be insane too, but did you stop drinking?
And that's why, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because the insanity is not all that. Mm-hmm. The insanity is it took me 11 years to get sober after that. The insanity is less than a month after this, or 2 months after this happens, it took a month to recover, I'm getting free drinks at bars telling this story. Like, it's really only like recently. I'm 2.5 years sober by the grace of God, but shit, like probably within the last few months, where I was like, man, I can't believe I just went right back to the bar, like nothing had happened. Because when I tell you I'm an alcoholic, I'm telling you a few things, right? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you that I have a physical allergy to alcohol. I can't control a substance once it's in my body. It produces this phenomena of craving. I also am telling you that I suffer from delusional thinking. That I am an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. But I also have a built-in forgetter. I have an inability to retain painful information. And towards the end of the drinking, it just got that much worse, where it was that much quicker. I would forget how bad it was the night before, and just filled with this kind of hope that this next drink will be different. Today will be different. I'm going to do absolutely nothing different today and expect different results tomorrow.
Which is the definition of insanity.
And it just got a lot worse. I ended up, I left my job in North Carolina. Just the economy and all that stuff, it was right when the housing market crashed. We're in another craziness. So I'm back in Richmond. I'm in community college, and I'm at J Sarge, and I'm taking women's lit because it was lit. And I got a psychiatrist to prescribe Adderall. Didn't have one of those old Tic Tacs before, but oh my God. or I'd forgotten or whatever. But I mean, I was off to the races. I that allowed me to just drink and do whatever I want for extended periods of time, and I felt like Superman. And yeah, so I'm introduced to that and in this class, and end up meeting, met this chick, and she ended up being a roommate a couple months, maybe a month into it, and just friends, and then good friend. But I mean, that was really an introduction to the drinking. I remember the first time we hung out, and she just like pulled out weed, and she's like, "Do you smoke?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, like, not in the last 6 years." And she's whipping it out in the car, and I'm like, all right, like, yeah, I'll take a taste, and that really kind of started this spiral. When I would drink, I would black out. I was pretty much a daily drinker at this point. I'm jumping from job to job. I'm teaching at the time. I'm an instructional assistant, and I'm just raging and all that stuff, part time, this and that, and it got bad enough that I could recognize it in my early 20s and just say, hey, like, I'm done. I can't keep doing this. And so I got into recovery, and it was great. I loved it. It worked. It worked almost too well. And I thought I was cured. And unfortunately, there is no cure for what I have. I think if you're truly an alcoholic or an addict, there comes a time when you take your last drink. Thank God for recovery, because I can talk about mine today. And there is maybe not a cure, but there's a solution. And so, life got really good really fast. Part time became full time, got a girlfriend, became a fiance, became a wife who's now an ex wife. Which, yeah, I can look at my life now and see really, my part in that, and where I did that, and I have to live with that, um, to just break someone's heart. And push them out, and because things have changed. I remember, towards the end where I was like, "You've changed," because we'd party together and all that stuff, and she's like, "You changed," and I'm 300 pounds. I was like, $1.80 when I met her. I'm like 300 pounds drinking a beer. I was in a freaking recovery program when I met her, and now I'm like, "You've changed," as I'm sitting there with a beer, like my gut out to here, just full of shame and just regret. And I think getting the divorce. I think that really was kind of the catalyst. I called it my Sam Dependence Day, and I remember just being so heartbroken. I took a head full of acid as much as I could, and I called my dad crying. He was living in Hawaii at the time. And I guess I tugged on his heartstrings enough that they bought me a ticket to fly out like 12 hours later. So here I am, like, just trying to pack for this trip, I'm hallucinating, I'm just drinking, I need to get airplane bottles for the ride there, the plane ride, like, I'm just going to drink, it away. And, went over there, and it was just a crazy freaking experience, yeah. Um, and I got back and I started working for a call center because I needed a job. Like, I don't have a job. Like, I'm needing another income because at this time, I'm owning a duplex on Monument Avenue, and it was a renovation, and that was, so we're renting like 9 rooms out at one point, to people, and um, just a cast of characters, and towards the end of that, it really just became a crack house almost. I mean, I was using rent money for drugs and alcohol, and it got to a point where let's cut out the middleman. Let's just have those people move in, and they can pay in that, right? So I've got this crazy side hustle where I just have all the availability in the world at home, and then I'm in this call center, and really for the first time in my life, I felt just absolute acceptance. I these people that would party, they'd want to drink at work. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'd love to do that. Like, it's just all these like craziness. Anything was available. It's just its own world. So December 2018 is really when the wheels fell off again. Some stuff at work. I was incredibly close with my boss, who was like an adopted mother. She left the company, and I felt very lost and abandoned. And with my mom dying, with my dad moving to Hawaii, it just brought back a lot of painful feelings. And my cocaine plug had moved to away, and so I lost a lot of access to some of the stuff that I had, and I started getting into Ruppelmans and Ice 101 and this like 100 proof
Mm.
peppermint schnapps, right? And
Jesus, man.
that sensation it created, like when I would take Percocet, because I loved pain pills too, and so it would just create sort of that that drug sensation for me, just that first, oh my god, and it felt like a turtleneck just hugging me on the way down, and just I felt hopeful, and like for maybe 45 seconds a day, I just didn't want to kill myself. And at this point, I'm throwing up blood.
Mm.
I'm a daily blackout drinker. I am 300 pounds. I am yellow with jaundice. I, I cannot. I'm not eating unless I'm incredibly drunk. I would throw up every time I would drink, so I'd have to have a shot of bad liquor that I didn't want, because I knew that would let me throw up, and then I would throw that up, and then I would take, and then go into my bottle of Ice 101. I wanted to improve my tolerance for whatever god reason, and I'm drinking that. I'm drinking a box of wine a night. I'm doing whatever drugs I can, kratom, pot. I mean, if it's, I'm a street freak, man. If it's available, I want it. I want all of it. And if anything, just for the experience. Some stuff, and then the straw that broke the camel's back, on May of 2019. I missed 2 weeks of work on a bender. Something stupid that I'm not gonna do anything about my problems. I'm gonna just drink at you. I'm angry at you, so I'm gonna drink at you. And now I just couldn't stop. I blood's coming out of both ends at this point. I am throwing up maybe 6, 7 times a day now. I can't. I'm not eating. I'm losing consciousness. I don't know what's going on. And I had some coworkers, people that really loved me, reached out and said, "Look, if you don't go to the hospital, if you don't go to the doctor today, because I kept telling them, I'm fine, it's a sinus infection. I'm not calling out and texting out, and I'm good, but I'm not." Mm-hmm. And, I had these people say, if you don't go to the doctor today, we're coming over. And they sent me a picture of my keys, and they said, basically, you've got till 5 p.m. to go to the doctor, or we're coming over and forcing you to go. And at that point, I'm on my couch, and I don't think I'd eaten in a few days. I had 19 empty bottles of Ice 101. I had 34 boxes of wine, and I had cocaine on my table. And I don't want to clean up. So I just simply was like, whatever, I'll go. And I had no idea when I left my house that day that my life would forever change. That I'd never go back to my house. If you've ever like left a house and you didn't lock the door, so you run back up and you check it real quick, that's what I did. And I never, if I only would have known, but when I touched that handle to shake it, I never would touch that handle again. Mm. I went to one of those doc in the boxes, and they run an X-ray, they run blood, they do an EKG. I mean, they said everything that's wrong with you, everything that could be wrong with your blood is you're dying, you're in liver failure. And that was not my plan. I thought it was a sinus infection, because I had this legit, like I was going to go buy a bottle of liquor on the way home. That was how much denial and insane, how insane my life was. So they said, which hospital do you want to go to? And I went to St. Mary's, and the intake in the ER, I sat there, and they had called to let them know I don't want to pay for an ambulance. So I had a friend, ironically, the same one that picked me up in Charlottesville was the same one that drove me to the hospital. Damn. And, right. And, dropped me off, and they put me in a chair, and I'm shaking uncontrollably. And they just said, do you want to stop drinking? And I said, not really, but I think I should. Mm. And that was the most honest answer I could give. And they took their test, and they put me in the ICU. And, they said that, the score sheet, my rap sheet in there, they wanted to medically induce a coma. It was that bad. They did not think my body would survive detox. And I remember looking at them and, some real John Wayne bullshit, and saying, well, if it's all the same to you, I'd rather die with my eyes open. And who's that guy, right? But if it's all the same to you, I'd rather die with my eyes open. And so, they put me on Ativan, they put me on Demerol, all this medicine that I have no idea, and they run these scans, they run these CT scans, they're looking at blood, and my liver enzymes, which should be in the 40s, are in the 400s. Like 10 times the normal limit. I mean, they basically said I was the textbook definition of an alcoholic if you look at my blood work. I was 300 pounds. I was yellow with jaundice. They called me highlighter eyes in the hospital because of because of just how of the jaundice. My bilirubin, which is supposed to be like 0.5, I'm at 11. And June 1st, they looked at it and they said they couldn't determine a lot. I was so fat they couldn't actually get a lot of consistent readings. Their best guess was 60% of my liver was dead with cirrhosis, 40% of my liver was inflamed with alcohol hepatitis. It will take about 90 days to 6 months for that cirrhosis, for the inflammation to turn to cirrhosis and kill me. They said, make yourself comfortable. And that was that.
You think that became like the U-turn moment when it got real for you?
It's so hard to describe unless you've been there. I was in this stuck place because I didn't want to live, but I didn't want to die. And I didn't want to know. I didn't want it to be painful, but I just didn't want to exist anymore. And the minute they said that, my first thought was, oh my God, I don't have to pay property taxes. I would like 20 grand in the city of Richmond. Legitimately, that was my first thought. And I don't know how to do this because I think the people that are visiting me at this time are there out of obligation, not out of love, because I can love you. This is one of my biggest problems today. I can love you and express that love, but I just can't believe that you love me. And I, if I'm honest with you, I struggle with that to this day. And that's where the universe kicked in. That was the turning point. Was about 20 minutes after that. They got me out of bed to actually use the restroom, the toilet for the first time. And they pulled the curtain back, and this woman was standing there, my sister-in-law's sister. This stranger at the time, she became one of my absolute just best friends and family. And she was 2 years sober. I had met her at Christmas a few months ago, insanely drunk, and I was like, oh my God, you're you. I was like, oh, stop offering you beer. And she said, you don't have to die. And she gave me her card. And that just, it unsettled me. Because it made me curious, because I knew why my brother was there. I knew why friends were there. I like I said, obligation. But with her, I couldn't quite figure it out. Why would this, single mom that's managing a restaurant, that's in class, skipping on her day off, why is she taking 2 city buses just to come see me? I didn't understand the power of fellowship. I didn't understand unity. I didn't understand how it's our calling to just stick our hands out for one another when people need help and to be there. And that's exactly what she was. And she said, you don't have to die. And it wasn't this profound. It just got me thinking. And that night, I had a very long conversation with a stranger in the mirror. And I just said, I absolutely can't do this anymore. And I'm screaming and I'm crying. And I just have tears in my eyes. And I said, take me tonight. I said, fucking take me tonight or help me change. I will not do this another day. And here I am, dying, making demands of God, right? Like, who am I? And so the universe delivered, and it did both. I ended up flatlining that night. I remember it just going black in the beep. And then I remember coming to and just the falling. And it just felt like it was like if you've had a dream where you wake up and then you look around and your remote's a calculator because it's still a dream, and then you wake up again and it's not a calculator anymore, it's something different. That's what it felt like. I didn't know what realm I was in. I don't know where I'm at. I'm out of my mind. My brain, it's just... And the next day I opened my eyes, and that was it. That was the sign. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, what are we going to do? So I called this person. I was like, what do I do? And she said, call. She said, sell your house, sell your business. Don't go back there. You need to get into recovery, and you need to move into sober living. And I was like, what do I do? And she's like, listen, a frog house, Bob Sangster. And I don't know who this is,
Mm-hmm.
and this dude saves my life, right? Like I told my stepmom and she found him on the internet on his website and, set up an appointment. So I ended up stabilizing on June 4th and they released me. And I went to CVS. I got a prescription filled. I went to my job and got put in an LOA, for they excuse that because they were very kind and gentle and understanding. Some of them were. And then we met Bob, and then I'm moving into a sober house. My brother was able to throw a little bit of mismatched clothes into a trash bag, and that was it. I've lost every earthly possession I've ever owned.
Mm-hmm.
Jewelry, electronics, the house, all of that. We had junkers come in, they just got rid of it and sold it. And, at this point, I have 86 days left to live. And I'm counting down. In early sobriety, people count like up. I've got 5 days, I got a week, I've got 2 weeks, I've got a month. For me, it was the total opposite. I have 86 days left to live. I have 75 days left to live. And I jumped into recovery. I took suggestions. I started working with people. I started, doing the things that people said, reaching out, asking for help, finding long-term recovery meetings and, working that to the best of my ability. And, you know, day 90 happened and day 91 happened. And it's just been the most magical ride ever since. Life today, I can't even describe it for you. I can't, almost tears in my eyes how blessed I am just to be alive and here today. That was 2.5 years ago.
Oh, man.
And the liver, that was the crazy thing. I had stage 4 liver cirrhosis. At the time, it was end of stage liver disease. They actually said, they estimated like 96% of my liver was dead at one point. But that 4%, like on a fibro scan, which measures the firmness, like it's a 0 to 75 scale. 4 is normal, 7's disease, 12 is cirrhosis, 75 is death. 6 months sober, I was a 71.
Mm.
And my liver enzymes are still in the hundreds. That was like going down, but it was still 3 or 4 times what the normal limit should be. And, we get there and, the liver, I'm there. It's improving. I'm doing the things that they do. We sold the house and business. I'm emptying retirement accounts. I'm living the dream. I've got all this, and I wanted to honor recovery, which has really provided this for me. And it has just been the most magical trip, man. Like day 91 happens, and now I feel like I'm playing with house money. Like I'm on borrowed time. I shouldn't have been here, but I am. So on day 101, I went skydiving for the first time. I jumped out of an airplane. And with the person that actually came to the hospital, we jumped out of an airplane, and it was funny. I remember jumping. They said, they basically said, are you scared? And I said, no. And I meant that, because they said, well, you're a great liar. And I said, listen, not to be weird, but, I was supposed to die 11 days ago. So I don't think anything can touch me.
Right.
And, it's been a trip since that.
Man, nah, that's awesome, dude. That first and foremost, man, you're here. You're able to share that experience. With people, and there's somebody right now that possibly is in that same space that'll hear this and look at you, man, for the motivation and inspiration to continue to live, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. So, and on the flip side, like, how is life in recovery now?
It's just beyond my wildest dreams. I've been catapulted into this 4th dimension that I didn't even know existed. I've gotten into reading. I've gotten into spirituality. Alan Watts' Taoism. I've gone to a Buddhist meditation retreat. I went keto. I lost 140 pounds. They are studying me medically because my liver, has improved. My dead liver is coming back to life. My last fibro scan was a 40 out of 75. That's not supposed to happen. If you have what I have, stage 4, you're supposed to go to the doctor like every month to get your life expectancy. I go twice a year. We do blood work and we see how long I'm going to live for the next one. And it has been the most freeing. It makes me say yes to life, and it makes me just to get into things. I was 8 months sober when the pandemic happened. The world shut down, you know. I didn't drink over it. I didn't have to drink over it. You know, I just continued to try to do the next right thing. And, you know, you know, I got to travel. I had money, you know, prior to everything shutting down. I got to just explore. I got to see things. And I got to do things that I got to find interest in myself and do things that I've always wanted to do that I've never had the opportunity to do because I was so fucked up. I was so drunk. I was so high. I didn't have money, all this stuff. I went to my first ever I have a passion for social justice, which I didn't know existed. I went to my first ever protest after George Floyd. It was June 1st when the city of Richmond tear gassed us. You know, I was at the monument and I'm on Facebook Live. I'd never in my life been to a protest. I did not think that would happen. People are screaming, dogs, like all this stuff's happening. Like it's just war broke out. And I'm on there and with my little video, like, is this normal? Coughing, choking on tear gas? Like, this sucks. And like, you know, a bunch of people were reaching out and, you know, the news reached out and was like, can we use this video? And I was like, my God, the only thing I love more than alcohol is attention. And I dove head first into that. So I never knew I had this passion and for something and I can do that. And then it just has led to just the most miraculous things. I was the dude at a protest on Facebook Live. I got shot by a police sniper. They shot the phone out of my hand, you know. That went on Twitter the next day. That went viral. People wanted to meet me, reach out. You know, I'm getting to do this. I actually quit my job. I had better job opportunities. You know, I switched to Switch for good reasons. You know, because of my performance was better. And you know, I jump into this social protesting. You know, I was out there. You know, 91 days pretty much every night, just doing that, doing my recovery thing, just life. You know, and posting videos on my Instagram, you know, on Twitter, on Facebook, and a media company reached out, like 5 did. And so I met with these people and like, I love juking media. And I was like, they were like, do you want to freelance? Can we use some of your stuff? Here's a contract. And I was like, oh my God. So I get to like submit stuff. I was like a freelance journalist because growing up, my idol, my hero was Hunter S. Thompson. Everything I did, I wanted to be him. I wanted to be the Hunter S. Thompson of financial planning, of teaching, of all these things that he had no business in, but I wanted to do. And I had to get sober first, but I got to do it, you know? And then after that, you know, I'm you know, the protesting ends and I'm like, what do I do now? And I really enjoy taking pictures. So, you know, my sponsor was like, hey, get a camera and made some suggestions. And I get into photography and street photography and like art. And I had no idea I had such a passion or talent for it. And it has truly just kept me sober today, you know, just exploring that, taking my camera out and just taking pictures. I put it on Instagram. YouPick reached out. It was like, yo, like your stuff's fire. Do you want to put your stuff? Would you like to be like a featured artist on our website? Thinking, why not? You know, I'm just saying yes to life. And that's really what sobriety has taught me, to say yes, to just show up, to be of service. And then like, you know, within 5 months on their platform, you know, I'm rated the #1 street photographer in the world. My stuff's got like 600,000 views. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. You know, I'm just walking around taking pictures of stuff I like. Other people like that. How dope is that?
Word.
And yeah, I mean, it's just, I get to wake up every day and my life is straight magic today because I can choose to see the magic because I'm sober and I have a choice. If I'm not sober, if I have alcohol or drugs in my body, I've lost the power of choice.
Word, man. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing your stories. So what I like to do, you know, we get to the end of them is if you had one piece of advice to help someone, you know, that's sober curious or in that space where they know they need to change, but they might not know exactly how, what piece of advice could you offer them?
That's a great question. Why sobriety? Why not? You know, I mean, it's, if nothing else has worked for you, try it. You know, and I think the keys, it's to be sober. It's, you know, it's cleaning house, it's trusting God, and it's helping others. And if you can do those things, you know, if I'm happy, if I'm healthy, if I'm honest every day, I have a chance to be happy. And that really, Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely saved my life. You know, you don't have to die from this. You don't at all have to die from this. They told me I had 90 days. They're doing everything. I'm in hospice care in the hospital. It is that bad. And I shouldn't be here. There was only a 35% chance I'd survive 2 years, 41% chance I'd survive a year. I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. And, my sincerest wish is that for you too. If you're like me, if you're not like me, I love you. I appreciate you for listening to this
No doubt.
and allowing me to, to be in your world for a little bit. And that's really the greatest honor. Like I said, I don't own this. I rent it, and rent's due daily. So I really appreciate you, bro, and allowing me to pay that tonight.
Ah, man, I appreciate. I know the first time, you came through the meetup and I heard your story, like I kind of knew right away that that was something that needed to be told. To people that might not get a chance to touch RVA and attend a meeting, or where you would have the opportunity to tell the story. So I appreciate you, offering to do this, man. Like I am gratefully appreciative of you taking the time out of your day to do this, bro. And yeah, we're gonna get this out. What do you say?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Well, Sam, man, I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you, man.